Hello, this is Taureor, and in this video we are going to talk about choosing your microphone for YouTube. First of all, should you get a microphone? It depends mostly on how serious you are about making videos. If you want to make, let's say, Let's Play videos and just want to try it, you can just as well use a headset or a microphone in your laptop. But that's if you just want to try it. If you're serious about it, definitely get a microphone. The microphone is your most important tool. As a fellow YouTuber once told me, nobody will listen to you or watch you because your sound is good, but many people will refuse to watch you if your sound is bad. Yes, and if you get a good microphone, you won't need to edit the sound afterwards. Alright, so if you're serious, get a mic. What kind? Well, to answer this question, we have to discuss two main things: the microphone types and the connection between your microphone and your computer. And there are two basic microphone types available on the market: dynamic microphones and condenser microphones. There are technical differences, but we won't talk about it now because this video is aimed at beginners. So, what's the main difference between a dynamic and a condenser microphone? Basically, a dynamic microphone will pick up your voice pretty well, usually, and not much noise from the surroundings, because it's basically short range in such case. I don't want to go into technical details. Basically, the dynamic microphone will pick up your voice and not record much noise from the environment. A condenser microphone is good for usually for all kinds of sound, so for instruments as well. But it will also pick up noise. For example, I am using a dynamic microphone now, and my girlfriend is doing something in the other room. If I was using a condenser microphone, you could probably hear her. And that's not something you want on your videos usually. So if you are in a relatively noisy space, use a dynamic microphone. If you have a very quiet room to record in, you could go for a condenser. Because condenser microphones are a little bit more affordable and there are more options on the market. Now, the connection. For new people, for let's say beginners, I would definitely recommend a USB microphone because it's just plug and play. It's much easier. You might also want to go for XLR, but to connect it to your computer, you will need a mixer, mixer with a converter, or just a converter. XLR is basically raw input, and your computer cannot handle that. You need to connect it to a special device that will send the signal to your computer. And it's a little bit more difficult. The upside is that you can usually control it much better. For example, you can adjust the sound levels for different sound levels. So if you don't want to get additional equipment and want it to be easy, go for a USB mic. If you don't mind, you might explore the XLR options. Right, now, if you combine those things, you will get four options: dynamic USB, condenser USB, dynamic XLR, and condenser XLR. So let's go over those options very quickly. All USB mics are easy to use. A dynamic USB will be good because it will have low noise. But there aren't many options. I only know about 4 or 5 dynamic USB microphones on the market. A condenser microphone will pick up noise, but if you are in a quiet space, it might be better. There are many options. It's a bit more affordable. An XLR microphone is, the advantages and disadvantages of dynamic and condenser still stand. It's more difficult to use, but it also gives you more control. It requires a different device. A condenser microphone and a dynamic microphone will both require a mixer or a converter to get the signal into your computer. So it's more work. But if you have a mixer, you can adjust sound levels, so more control. And the dynamic and condenser advantages and disadvantages: low noise on dynamic, high noise on condenser, but perhaps a richer sound on a condenser microphone. Right, these are the basics. We will move on and discuss some examples soon, but first, let's talk about additional equipment. A pop filter, you'll usually need it, but some microphones have it built in. Pop filter How does it work? If you say letters like P or B, P, P, B, B, these will usually create plosives. Basically, a wave of air hits the microphone and distorts the sound. You weren't able to hear it here because my microphone has a built-in pop filter. But if your microphone doesn't, you can make it very cheaply or buy it. A studio arm is useful for positioning your microphone in front of your face in the perfect spot. And the shock mount, it will prevent, for example, if you hit your desk, a shock mount will prevent the microphone from shaking and distorting the sound this way. Okay, let's get back to the types for a little while, because I remembered one more thing. Between a dynamic and a condenser microphone, if you have a noisy computer, for example, you can remove this noise in post-production. But, for instance, if you breathe heavily, you might want to go for a dynamic for just this reason. For example, you could have a sinus infection or something like that. I had some trouble with my sinuses, and that influenced my decision to get a dynamic microphone, because it creates noise and it's easier to hear this noise on the condenser. So I generally would recommend a dynamic microphone, unless you are in a quiet space. Right, let's move on to some examples now. Rode, I will only talk about the manufacturers that I have experience with. There are more options, you should explore them yourself. And this is not an advertisement, I'm just showing you what's out there, right? So, Rode microphones, this is my first recommendation, a Rode Podcaster, because that's what I have. It's rather pricey, but it's very, very good. It's studio quality USB microphone, dynamic, with a built-in pop filter. Wonderful stuff. It costs about $250, I think. I'm not sure about the prices in the US because I'm in Poland, so yeah, I just try to convert the equivalents. So it's rather pricey, but it's very good. You could, I will also talk about, yeah, you can check it out for yourself. And for the sound quality, I am using it and not editing the sound in any way. Right, now let's move on to Samson manufacturing. All the Samson microphones are relatively good. I did have experience with a few. Right, I was supposed to go for products, right? Products, microphones, USB mics. Because I'm recommending that you go with a USB microphone. There are quite a few options. You can go for a dynamic or a condenser microphone. Examples of good condenser microphones are the Meteor or the Meteorite. I worked with the Meteor mic for a while. It's very good, but it is a condenser one, so keep that in mind in case of noises. Right, Q1U and Q2U are both USB dynamic microphones. They are quite affordable, about $50, I think, but I haven't used them. I hear that they're good, but I cannot recommend them wholeheartedly because I haven't experienced them firsthand. I don't know if they really are good. But Samsung microphones are generally quite good. Right. Also, Blue microphones. Very good stuff. If you want good and don't mind the price, you should go for Yeti or Yeti Pro. They are condenser microphones, keep that in mind. These are higher on the price range. Yeti or Yeti Pro are quite expensive. I think about $200, something around that, 150, 250, something between those prices. And for example, Quill 18 is using a Yeti, as far as I know. But keep in mind, condenser, noise. So you need a quiet space. If you want to get something cheaper, I can wholeheartedly recommend the Snowball. It's a very good, cheap microphone. It is a condenser microphone, so remember that. It is very good, very cheap. It's about $50, I think. And this little piece of hardware is also interesting, the Icicle. It lets you connect an XLR microphone and gives you USB output. So, yeah, there is also a USB dynamic Audio-Technica microphone, but I have not used it. Audio-Technica isn't really available in Europe, and I have no experience with this one. Just want to let you know that there is such a microphone. And if you want to explore the options, you might want to check out this website, Recording Hacks. they have an interesting shout out about an interesting piece about dynamic podcasting microphones. Right, so what are my recommendations? If you want something cheap, go for the Snowball if you want a condenser microphone, or you could try a Samsung Q2U or Q1U. Keep in mind those are old microphones. The design is very old, but and I haven't used them myself, but I'm told they're good. If you want a condenser, go for Meteor, Meteorite, or Snowball. And again, these are my opinions. If you want to spend a bit more and get a studio quality microphone, you might want to go for Yeti or Yeti Pro if you want a condenser, and if you want a dynamic microphone, go for the Rode Podcaster. I definitely recommend this one because that's what I'm using. Yeah, I think that's enough. So let's get back to the general table. Dynamic USB for ease of use and low noise. Condenser USB for ease of use and rich sound. I mean, dynamic can also give you rich sound, but you'll need a higher price range for that, for the Podcaster, for example. Condenser microphones are cheaper. And XLR if you want more control. So, thank you very much for watching. I hope you liked the video and I did help you at least a bit in choosing your microphone. If you did like the video, remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you with more content soon. Especially if I get a webcam, I'll show you how to make a studio arm, a shock mount, and a pop filter yourself. So, have a nice day. Bye-bye.